I made a business out of my passion, and I always like to say proudly, and it took me many, many years to say that today I live my passion and I combine my, love for people, marketing, traveling, and innovation.
How's the Israeli ecosystem, other than, let's say, competitors helping each other or the founders, how are they different from those abroad?
So I took it as my life mission based on my history around that, and I've been teaching it around the world, and I just published my book, the Super Connectors Playbook. Which
Great plug.
Has all this information, NAI, and so on. So this is one thing that I'm educating and teaching around the world.
If you're trying to network with an extrovert versus an introvert, how would you do your energy or what you talk about yourself or the questions that you ask?
And the Israeli mission came with jeans, sports shoes, this very cheap kind of, t-shirt. The CEO of the Japanese company said, "Thank you so much for coming over," stood and just left the room.
Welcome to another episode of Israel Tech. I'm excited to have with me Lirone Glikman. If you don't know Lirone, well, you're about to. What's great about Lirone is she understands the networking and the connections that is necessary that makes our ecosystem unique. People say that the Israeli tech ecosystem is only number 2 to Silicon Valley. And one of the reasons is it's the whole ecosystem. It's not the startups. It's not the VCs. It's not the engineers. It's everything and any one of the connectors and all of them and the service providers in between. And that's why I'm excited to really get into the ecosystem with Lirone. But before we do, make sure you like and subscribe and give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. And check out our Ball and newsletter. You can find it on the top of our website, israeltech.com. Lirone, thank you for coming on the show.
Yoel, I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Okay, so people that don't know, actually, so we're at Google for Startups in Tel Aviv, and we were just downstairs earlier. You invited me actually to speak at your event. Yeah. We've already been connected from when I interviewed NVIDIA at Reichman. You were speaking there. And then even before then, I think we were already networked, maybe. I'm already losing track of how many times I've seen you in such a short period of time.
We met several times in different conferences.
Right.
Mostly.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and we saw the Future AI event. And, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it looks like we're totally in the same space, same pool. But you do something that's different from other people. Is really, you speak, you connect for like a living.
Yeah.
How's that work?
Basically, I made a business out of my passion, and I always like to say proudly, and it took me many, many years to say that today I live my passion and I combine my, love for people, marketing, traveling, and innovation. So basically, I connect everything together, and I'm able to impact people in Israel and around the world, working in 27 countries to date.
Wow, amazing. So what do you do exactly? Break it down. What are you doing here for the Israeli ecosystem that's so unique?
So my business, my company, and again, my passion, we have 2 main services. One is I have specialized in over a decade on networking and personal branding. It's something that we all do, or at least network, or speak to people, but no one has ever taught us how to do it. Like you don't have at school networking classes or how to build a brand classes, even not at university. And this is one of the most essential skills at any workplace and business. So I took it as my life mission based on my history around that, and I've been teaching it around the world, and I just published my book, the Super Connectors Playbook. Which
Great plug.
Has all this information, NAI, and so on. So this is one thing that I'm educating and teaching around the world. And the other thing is the way I work with startups, because I'm an Israeli. The startups are all around me, and I have so much to give to them. So this service is about founder-led branding service. Basically, I help the founder to build their credibility brand on, if it's tier 1 media, placing them on podcasts, creating events for them and putting them on LinkedIn in order for them to build their authority and create an unfair advantage.
So what is it uniquely you think that Israeli startups have going for them when it comes to basically being able to connect and network? Because we were talking a little off camera, and one of the things we were saying is that competitors in Israel help each other. That's got to be uniquely Israeli, right?
It's so unique. And, I travel and I work in different ecosystems. In the Berlin one, and I just started to get to know the Vietnamese one and the Dutch one and New York one. And you can find magic in each of them. But what's unique about us, Israelis and Jewish, is that we just help one another. Yes, I won't share my IP with you, but you see how, like founders help each other, even if they're competitors. And you also see it in conversation, just like we had downstairs. People came, founders came, investors came, and everything was on the table, and they were there to share value. And I think also based on our Judaism and understanding that we need to be here for one another. So if I'll share what I know with you, I don't think you will steal it from me. On the contrary, if you will succeed, of course I would also want to succeed, but I'll be happy because there's something about this shared success. Mm-hmm. And also when an Israeli startup succeed, it also reflects on the next startups that are going to pitch to
Right.
someone abroad. So maybe subconsciously we do it as we've always done it as, Jewish people, I believe.
Right. I think it's also far more conscious too. I think people very well know. And I think there's something built into the culture of like, we're here to help each other. I'm helping you. Of course, it's expected that you help me and not because I help you and vice versa.
Also, like it's an example. If you see someone senior than you, or successful than you, helping you, you're like, wow, he's such a busy man. If he's helping me, maybe I should be like him, So it's
Love it.
also,
Lead by example.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of that. It's amazing how that happens. Before we continue, let me tell you about our partner, Deal. As you know, I'm an entrepreneur. One of the hardest parts of being an entrepreneur is hiring the talent that you need, onboarding them, getting them the equipment that they need, and getting them paid. It's annoying. Compliance is difficult, and there's a lot of different laws in different markets. And most HR platforms, they're difficult to use. Deal is different. It's perfect for founders and startups like me, and grows with you as you scale. Imagine HR, IT, and payroll, all in one place, easy to use, and AI native. They take care of compliance, so you can focus on your business. And you'll like using it. Go ahead and see for yourself. Visit our partner at deal.com/IsraelTech. That's DEEL.com/IsraelTech. And now, back to the show. When I speak to founders, what are they called? Repeat founders. I'm forgetting English. Those that have already had an exit, right? And then they just choose to found another
Serial entrepreneur.
Thank you. Serial entrepreneur, yeah. So a successful serial entrepreneur. There's a difference. I love all entrepreneurs. Anyone who even attempts entrepreneurism, I respect tremendously. It's not easy. I find that, the first time around, they make their exit, they make their money. Mm-hmm. Second time around is like, okay, it's my turn to give back. Let me hire here. Let me scale here. Let me find new ways to help, etc. And I think that's kind of part of the conversation where we met at where we were at the Scale Nation conference at Reichman University. The whole thing is moving from startup to scale up. And I think it took some success and then being able to give back afterwards. That is totally uniquely Israeli. It's all about giving back.
Definitely. I think it's also, again, the values that drive us. You see, Israelis give back in so many ways, even now in the war. I just met with a startup lawyer yesterday, and he told me, like, through the war, he was just, like, driving soldiers around because he wanted to be a part. I mean, there's something about us that, regardless of our business, we want to be a part of our community, of something bigger. And obviously, it also reflects in how we connect with people and how we do business with people.
I think actually that's one of the reasons for a lot of Jew hatred. I think is that there's a lot of envy that Jews actually try to connect and help one another in a way that they feel that maybe their community doesn't.
So let me tell you, as you may know, but I moved abroad by myself several times, and each of those times I didn't know anyone in Sydney and in New York and later in Berlin, and I was able to make it and get really good job and get well there through connections. And many of those connections, especially in Sydney and New York, were the Jewish community. And there is, I think around the world, there is mainly the Jewish mafia and the Chinese mafia, and they're kind of helping one another. When I was in New York, I was amazed how like every second person has a Jewish last name. I'm like, oh my God, like potentially every person here would probably want to help me because I'm Jewish. So that's such a comforting thought, even though it's not like clear cut, but still, it's great to know that someone totally stranger would be happy to help you because you're a part of his tribe.
2 days ago, I interviewed George Globerman for the show, and he was abroad on October 7th with his family. They were traveling. Somewhere in Europe, I don't recall. I think it was in the UK. And they said suddenly, like, to the door, all of the entire Jewish community showed up to want to support, want to help, make sure they had winter coats, make sure they had things, bringing them food, challah for Shabbat, sending them up in schools, like, or for the few weeks until they can, like, fly home and all that, and he was blown away about the Jewish community abroad. There's something about, I think, being Jewish in a non-Jewish country that kind of brings people together. Hopefully we can learn something from here. We can have a little more unity around that here. But I think we're getting there. We are having some challenges for sure. Do you think since October 7th, since I just thought about it, have things changed when it comes to the way people connect and help one another in Israel?
It depends. In the tech industry, I think it just made people so much closer and so much stronger because we kind of had a mutual enemy or a mutual goal, even if that would be better to say. We have a mutual goal to help the ecosystem thrive, to help people in need. The high tech, as we know, is the most, I would say, financially capable also sector in Israel. So people really went out of their way to do a lot of good things. But when you talk generally about Israel, I think there's some things became even worse. When someone sees a person who looks different to him and then started like cursing him, it's just kind of two ways. And it's very sad. I feel very sad to know that someone who's, within my culture and even not, just use so much hatred. Hatred is really the opposite of everything I live by and everything I preach. And I think when people are more connected, when people can know that people are around them would love to help them, they able to pursue their goals, they're fulfilled, they're happier. And when you are happier, you do good things to others. And the other side to it is this sentence that goes like this: hurt people hurt people.
Right.
So you don't want to be hurt because then you might hurt people. You want to be happy and in a good state, so then you might help people elevate other people.
Oh, that's fascinating. Right. It's interesting because within, I think, after October 7th, so many people were coming together in a way. I think it definitely further united a spark within us to help one another. So let's say you're a founder getting off the ground and you don't have any connections. Or let's take a step back. Let's say you're an immigrant like myself. No connections here. You want to start a startup. You weren't in the army. You don't have the network. You don't know any VCs. You didn't work even necessarily in a tech company. You got nothing. How does one network their way through the Israeli tech ecosystem? And I definitely want to learn specifically the tech ecosystem, because I do want to ask you the difference between that and other ecosystems.
Exactly.
Because you travel a lot.
So essentially, it's starting with how you view yourself and how you make sure you're comfortable enough to go out there and present yourself. And I mean, someone like you, obviously you're a people person. It's easier for you to come and talk to other people. But I think it's really, first of all, the understanding that, hey, people probably would want to help me. Second is I have to go out there and I have to share who am I and what am I doing. And if you go to any kind of meetup, and there's so many lists of different meetups here for the ecosystem, then people will accept you. And the other thing is that also Israel, the ecosystem uses English a lot. So people usually will find interest in you and will accept you. And then the main thing such person should do is to be proactive, not only to go there, but also follow up with people, really create their own list. Like I did it myself in other countries, but create a list and make sure to have coffee meetings, but also try to direct to what they want. I mean, share, I have a startup in the gaming industry or in the cyber industry, and I want to meet people who are XYZ. So just put yourself out there. And again, it all starts in the mind, in how you feel capable and you'll believe that people would want to help you because they would.
That's amazing. And so let's say you want to get involved and like you say, no, you want to help yourself. How can one help if you're a new immigrant, you don't have any connections, or in general, you don't have any connections in the Israeli tech ecosystem? How can you put that foot forward?
How can an immigrant can help someone?
Yeah, so you don't have those connections, those in the tech ecosystem. What can you do for them?
A lot of things. First of all, just having a conversation with you, you have a knowledge, or this immigrant probably has a knowledge or experience that the Israeli doesn't have. So find some topics that you can share your own perspective or your own, experience or knowledge with someone. People think that also give something to another person has to be like a big thing. Sometimes just spending 10 minutes with you, maybe like we did on our first meeting.
Right.
It was such an energetic meeting and we laughed so much, and you left me, because I won't necessarily remember what we talked about, but I will remember the feeling. And also spending 10 minutes with you, that was so amazing and so fun and so high energy. You also gave me a gift because I laughed and I enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Sure.
And you out there.
And you out there. So it's about your vibe, your energy, any advice, and I'm sure you can give someone. Anyone here can probably Google and look for an article and then go back to say, hey, y'all, remember we talked about this and that? Here is an article I just found that you might find interesting.
Right. That's a great. I find that, by the way, telling someone I'm thinking about you when it's unexpected is the biggest way. Totally. Wow. But it means you have to actually think about them for no reason or whatever.
Okay.
Because it means I remembered something. I remembered that we met. I remembered maybe your name or your number or whoever we're connected. I was able to find that. I remember a conversation. It had an impact on me that something days, weeks, months later came up and had me think of it in a positive way. And then I thought of you now and decided to make that connection again. It's probably one of the best things you can do.
So I actually named this method, and it's in my book, How to Maintain Relationship. There are different tactics. One of them is what I call the association method. Now, let me also, first of all, say I really believe in authenticity first. You have to be real. You have to bring yourself as much as you can. And it's okay to be strategic. It's okay to want something from someone. But if the foundation of the relationship is good, is authentic, then you most likely would want to help me. And with that in mind, I call it the association method. So I just thought about someone for no reason. Or for example, I just walked by Nike store and my friend just finished her work, a few years for working in Nike. And I just sent her a message, hi Judith, I just walked by Nike and you popped into my mind and I wanted to say hi and how are you? That's amazing. So I use this whenever I think about someone or talk about someone with another person, I just say hi. And the beautiful thing about it is that everyone enjoys knowing that someone thought about them.
I know.
And it makes them feel really good. Now, let's take it to another level. Yesterday, I gave a talk and someone asked me, hey, but, I'm looking for a job and I feel uncomfortable approaching someone I haven't talked to in a while, knowing that they could help me. So I told them, look, I use this association method in another way. Let's say I want to approach Revital because I know Revital can connect me to someone. And I mean, just reaching out after we haven't been in touch for a while.
Could be awkward.
Yeah. So I did thought about it, right? So I said, hi, Rital, how are you? I was just thinking about you. And I just wanted to know, how are you? And she's good. Let's hop on a call. And how are you doing? And then you have like this chit chat. And once you're kind of, caught up with each other, then, by the way, can I ask something? Because I know you might be able to help me. So you're kind of making smoother. You're not just jumping into asking questions. So use the fact that you want Revital to reconnect with her, to build a better bond, maybe to have a new story or, a new, like, another good, like, interaction with her.
Yeah, so one of the most important things actually is, I think you were saying, it to be like authentic. It can't come from a place to try to manipulate or leverage someone's connections without being authentic. One of my business coaches, he says,
it's just not sustainable.
It's
you might
not.
help me once,
but people will see through it. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
Intent over technique, he always says. So when doing sales, when doing outreach, when doing marketing, it needs to come from an authentic intent place. You can't sell a product you don't believe in, or you don't use yourself, or something like that. So it's kind of like that. Do you have good intentions? Are your intentions really what you're going out and the way you're expressing yourself? How's the Israeli ecosystem, other than, let's say, competitors helping each other or the founders, how are they different from those abroad?
Well, Israelis, we are very...
I like how you took a really deep breath before you answer that. I don't know.
Because there are a few sides of it. I think, first of all, we are amazing because we improvise. We see situation differently. We think outside of the box. We go out there with some chutzpah and some charm, and people know we're smart or know, we come from like a very, I would say, sophisticated and special culture. And when used right, it could really, make a difference. And most of them are using it, or many of them using it in a good way. But the main issue would be the cultural difference. Because I have seen so many Israelis that think that they're approaching an investor in New York like he's their friend from Israel. And, you're American, so there are different codes on don't sell too hard. Many times they don't build a relationship. They just jump straight to it. And I see it over and over again. And also understanding the codes or letting them speak or, I'm trying to think of a certain story. But, I just think basically many of them are coming too hard. And also deciding for them. Many times we just like to take the lead and tell them what to do and how to do. And it just doesn't work this way. You need to be a bit more soft and a bit more politically correct. You have to let them talk.
Wait, but what happened to being authentic and intentful?
Okay, great. So
there's a conflict here, right?
It's not about not being authentic, because my authenticity would be to put my legs on the table and... Okay, but it's just not appropriate. So you need to know who you're speaking with. If you want to get connected with, I just talked about Germany yesterday with someone. And at the beginning, Germans are very cold. They're very, stiff, and you need to start talking to them. And usually when I'm talking to different cultures, I let them lead the way. I let them share with me their own pace and their own even volume. And then when we kind of understand each other more and build a relationship more, they open up and I open up. And then I can put my legs on the table. You see what I mean? And sometimes Israelis just don't see the difference or don't let the relationship the ice melt a bit. So I think the cultural difference would be one of the most important stuff, because we watch US TV and we think that, we are Americans or we understand them. But
no, they don't.
We
but
don't.
Just so people understand, right? I'm from Philly, and I haven't heard anyone say this in a while. But people would tell me because everything's filtered For those that are American, it's really important that they understand this. They don't understand how strong America is a magnet culturally.
Yeah.
They don't understand the rest of the world at all, and they don't understand how the rest of the world sees America. I get it. I don't blame Americans. Before I continue, let me tell you about our partners, The Recruitery. The Recruitery places go-to-market talent for early and growth stage cybersecurity companies. The Recruitery specializes in recruiting and retaining top talent in global markets. If you're looking for a recruitment company to help your cybersecurity company close cultural gaps and find great talent on the ground that can help you scale, we recommend you also partnering with our partner, The Recruitery. And now, back to the show. But you get everyone knows everything, or they think they know everything about America and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, you're from Philly. Do you know Will Smith or Allen Iverson? And I'd have been like, Allen Iverson, yeah, Will Smith, no. They believe it. They think. And what I've learned was first off, I like how serious they were. Philly's got 1.5 million people, another 1.5 in the close suburbs that people would associate with Philly. And they actually thought I might know him. And I thought these people, they're just ignorant and dumb. I mean, they are when it comes to America. But what I've also learned is that in Israel, it's totally normal to say, oh, you're from Haifa? Do you know this other random resident of Haifa? Or this other person from Haifa is totally normal. I mean, Jewish geography, we do it all the time globally. We'll talk about cities I've never been to, you never have been to, but we both mentioned, Vienna. And then we'll start talking and putting our connections together of Vienna and Jewish history.
Exactly. If I would tell you a name of a Jewish person in Vienna, maybe we do know them because it's smaller. So the thing is, another thing about Israel, you probably know the law of 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Every person around the world has 6 degrees or 6 circles separating them from another person around the world.
Right.
Do you know what the amount of degrees in Israel are?
2. It's got to be 2.
2.5,
2,
3.
yeah, it's got to be 2.
So between any person in Israel, there are 2.5 to 3 people that are separating them.
Right.
And we know each other from so many circles, but in the U.S. it's huge.
Right.
And that's, again, it's exactly it. I mean, it's a different pace, and many times we're impatient because everything has happened so quickly, and we have the Combina culture. But it may really, really ruin a case when we are abroad, where we're meeting people from another culture.
Right, totally.
It's even about how we speak. We speak because we're informal, and because of the army culture, we usually speak to people we're very direct. And I remember when I was younger and I was in the U.S., I told my friend, "Give me the salt, give me the milk." Lirone, you don't say "give me," you say, "Could you please pass the salt? Do you mind just give me the milk?" I mean, I'm like, I never thought about it, that it sounds wrong, but it doesn't go well in other cultures. So we needed to understand that we don't know many of the cultures. And again, my main tip would be let them lead the way. Let them lead with pace, with sound, with voice, with how far they want to ask you personal questions. And then, slowly.
No, there's no way. That's the hardest thing for an Israeli to do, is let someone else lead. They're better off learning to practice please and thank you.
Them.
I know, but the thought of an Israeli trying to enter a relationship and not lead.
At least at the beginning, because again, it's not about authenticity. It's about understanding how to communicate with people.
Right.
It doesn't take away from my authenticity.
Oh, you mean shouting doesn't work?
No. I mean, I don't know if shouting might be authentic to me, but it won't.
It's not going to get.
No, exactly. So once you kind of, broke the ice together and you feel a bit more comfortable, and you connect with people and you build a good rapport, and connecting would be common ground, and in finding interest in them, then you might be able to, start showing your values or your strength. Mm-hmm. And do you want to know my 4 P's of common ground? How I recommend people to connect with one another?
4 P's. Let's see if I can guess one of them.
Guess.
Over people? Wait, what do you mean? What are the 4 common things to discuss?
Essentially,
place.
When people talk with one another, sometimes they're this awkward silence. And there are 4 P's, 4 topics that they can talk with anyone about, and that will always connect you. So
place. Something about a place where they are.
Okay.
Wait, is that one? I have no idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Personality.
No.
People. Other people.
People.
We talk about people, place, pop culture. I don't know. I'm trying hard here. You're gonna have to help me. What are the other 2?
Passions.
Okay.
And present. What happens right now?
Oh, okay. Currently.
Yeah.
Right. So something in the room.
Exactly.
Right. That Google for Startups behind you is intentionally crooked, and then they straighten it with the blue, and it always messes with me.
Look at this Google for Startup sign. So
Got it.
what's happening right now? The weather, the Big Brother, the shows. I would not recommend talking about politics when you first meet someone new because you don't know. Yeah, it's always like it's disconnecting and you want to connect.
Correct.
Passions could be like food, your latest trip, the event you just, the
Right.
stage you just been to,
Right.
your family and so on. People we either know or we admire, and places that we've been to, we studied it, we visited. So people, passions, places, and present.
Amazing.
Remember those 4 Ps, and you will never have an awkward silence in any
Right.
conversation again.
How does one change, let's say, who they are to make it like become natural? Because I could see someone after watching this and they're in a business conversation, like, okay, then it gets like, okay, it's a little silent, awkward. I want to keep it going. And they're like, what are the 4 Ps? So where's her book? Where's my bag? Right? Like, how does one make it come naturally to them?
Great question. First of all, with intention. When you approach someone, try to be, with them. Try to really find interest in them. Look at them in the eyes. Make sure that you nod. If you nod your head at least 3 times, the other
1, 2,
person,
3. Yeah, go ahead.
the other person speaks 30% more. So if you want them to speak more, you should nod your head, and then. Basically, when you
What if I want them to stop talking?
so you won't exactly, but when you find interest in others, you become more interesting to them.
Correct.
So know how to ask open question that will let the other person talk. And with that in mind, I have to share. People think that when it comes to extroverted and introverted, that usually extroverted people are the best. They're the best networkers. They can, make everything happen because they are, the heart of the event. They talk, they get people around them. They share, they make the vibe go. But actually, the extroverted, they have the gift of listening, of analyzing the situation, of seeing something.
The introverted.
The introverted. Seeing something that the extrovert might not see. So the introvert gives other people the gift of listening to them, and then they become even more interesting to them. This conversation, sometimes people say, like, I never even said a word. I just listened to them, and they said, oh my God, this was such a good conversation.
Right. Yeah, because that has to do, I think that's like, the more you give, right? Act of love is like, the more you give, the more you end up loving someone. It's not from you receive from someone and therefore you love them. You can think of a parent to a child or to a pet, or even an employer to employee. Really, you're trying to give, and the love is generated in that direction.
Yeah.
I think of it has a lot to do with the giving. Giving is a space to listen. I'm giving you the gift of my time, of my ear, of my energy, of my consciousness, of my intention. I find that to be a big thing that Israelis sometimes I lack. Regarding like extrovert and introvert, it's funny. I think extroverts have many, many, many more connections. Many more people know who they are, and they may know other people.
Yeah.
But introverts know far fewer, but the connections that they do have are more intentful and deeper, generally speaking, right?
Generally speaking.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm a big extrovert. It's no secret. I have many deep connections.
But also, in the middle, there is the ambivert.
Oh, no, what's this?
Ambivert is someone who's a bit introverted and a bit extroverted. And many times, people, I think, like myself in recent years, I'm kind of an extrovert in disguise because I need more today than ever. Maybe through COVID, after COVID, I need to relax and I need to breathe after I'm around a lot of people right now, like in the event. I mean, it takes me more time to recharge, where introverted is known that they need a lot of time to recharge. So a lot of people are kind of in the middle, or ambivert, where they love to be around people, but they need their time off.
Right. It doesn't everybody. Like, I'm a big extrovert. I still need my time, my decompressed time.
You have a tendency to be this or to be that. And it also changes over time. So I think it's interesting to reflect and see how do I, what do I need, or, where would I where do I feel more comfortable to be at, and so on.
So if you're trying to network with an extrovert versus an introvert, how would you do? Would you tailor your energy or what you talk about yourself, or the questions that you ask?
So I always try to find, not always, but I mean, when I'm speaking with extroverted and they're usually very much excited and very upbeat, then I love hearing what they're saying. And I also love echoing. And, we kind of usually have this conversation that only extroverted maybe have, that like we talk together and we kind of understand each other. There's something in the vibe that usually is very much like a ping pong, but we're all like in very high energy. And when I speak to an introverted, I will be probably more quiet, or I will ask more questions. I will nod more because I want to let them shine and I want to let them speak. So I will probably maybe raise a topic that might spark something in them, and I will ask them more. Or maybe I will share something about myself. I I'm just about to go to work in Berlin, and I'm really excited to do it. Have you ever been to Berlin, or when was the last time you went abroad? And I'll just share something and then ask them to continue and share with me.
Amazing. So the people skills in Israel, I think about a lot. And then we often I'm thinking always comparing it to the West. How is it compared to Israelis in the East? I'll bring Revital, my partner of Israel Tech here, because she's a immigrant from India. How different is it? Do you work in the East, or are you mostly Europe and America?
So I just came back from Thailand and Vietnam. I
Nice.
did a book tour in Thailand and Vietnam. And the interesting thing about that, the reason why the East also love my book and love learning about interpersonal skills, because they are so, they have the culture of losing face, and they're more introverted. And in their culture, being too much out there is actually considered, it's not cool. They would not trust you if you will, put yourself first or be too much out there. So
Do they hate Donald Trump?
I don't know.
Personality wise, I'm saying, right?
But I think they understand that they need to know how to deal with people and get out of their own shells. So things like I teach, which is a method, which is a very structured method, really resonated with them because they could really follow it. And same with Eastern Europe. So us Israelis, we understand each other. So there is like the kombina, and I will help you, you will help me. Sometimes we don't need to talk too much, and our culture is more into, again, being informal and even more loud. And if someone sees you, it's better than not seeing you. Whereas in the East or other cultures, you have like the silent power, and everybody knows and give respect to the head of the company or the organization or so on. And I think we should know that, because again, we should understand how to communicate with them, and we should understand that sometimes it's okay to be the extroverted or the fun person, and they would love our stories. I know for me, when I stand on stages in Asia, they love my stories. They're like, oh my God, it's like so inspiring. They won't be able to do it. I don't want them to be me, but they won't be able to do the same, because it's just not how they're being wired. They will find a way to be them, but maybe a bit amplify who they are a bit. And that's actually what we're talking right now to do in Asia, is like how to teach them those methodologies, but still make sure that they keep their own values, but still being able to amplify it a bit better, to show up, to stand out, to find an investment, to match to what the U.S. culture expects of them as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I interviewed over a year ago Ron from Magenta VC, and they're half magenta because the color, like half purple, half blue, half red, half blue. So there's purple, because they're half Japanese, half Israeli, and it was just fascinating. Like, how do you work out these cultural differences? We also interviewed Cybellum, who was acquired by LG, it's a cyber company, and also like, how do you work with Korean companies? Like, it's just the culture is so crazy. Would you say you got a story?
Yeah. I have a story.
Yeah, please.
So a few years back, an Israeli startup was working really, really hard to get a meeting with a Japanese corporate about working together. It took them a while. Eventually, the date arrived, and they flew to Tokyo, and they went into the meeting. So when they came into the room, they saw, the CEO sitting, the like head of the table. Around him, everyone else, they had like everyone had a suit and leather shoes, and very like respectful and so on. And the Israeli mission came with jeans, sports shoes, this like very like cheap kind of t-shirt.
It's like diesel.
The CEO of the Japanese company said, "Thank you so much for coming over," stood and just left the room. And
wow.
The Israel like, what's going on? We just flew half the world to see you, and how could you just leave the room?
Right.
It was like a big like
surprise. The guy said thank you.
Yeah. No, they were like shocked, but then they left the room, obviously, and they tried to understand, why did he do it? And then they realized they were all wrong. They got the culture codes all wrong. The Japanese thought they're basically they're disrespecting them. So they came back to Israel. They continued the conversation because they did want to make business together. A few months later, they went on a plane again and arrived into this office in Japan. They walked into the room, the Israeli ones with suits, leather shoes, they're all like with a briefcase already.
And I bet the suits didn't fit, right? That's the
Japanese had
no way, they just Israeli
jeans on.
No way.
But the Japanese toned themselves down a bit with how cultural they are, because they wanted to connect with the Israelis. And I
Is
love
there a
this
picture of
story.
this? Is there a picture of this?
I don't know. But I love this story.
I want to see the Israelis in suits crack me up. Grooms at their weddings don't wear suits in Israel.
But I love this story because when you want to connect with someone, you will find a way. Even if, you're culturally really, really apart from one another. And by the way, Israel and Japanese are like
The furthest thing. And we're both out. What's interesting is that we're also both culturally outliers. Japan in general, just globally, they're like out there, like culture more than any country. And Israel is also very different culturally than any other country.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fascinating.
We're informal. They're the extreme.
They're
formal.
extreme formal, right?
We're extroverted. They're extreme introverted. Like
Right.
Just the extreme apart from one another.
I wonder if the Japanese think that they're too informal. Do they know like that they're an extreme? Like I don't mean a negative way, but like if you were to rank it on the formality.
If they have a comparison, I guess people who work globally, they do know it. And they
know that. Like we're having these conversations for Israeli, there's Japan tech, some guys having it, and saying when you're going to do business in Israel or in America, be more in tech, you should be more informal. I'm sure they know that.
Exactly.
My favorite is I got to see this picture. You got to find out. I want to see the picture of the Israelis in suits and the Japanese dressed down. That's just comical, especially Israelis trying to dress up. I'm dying to do this event for years, which is going to happen. I promise in the next year. I got to put on the record.
Israelis in suits.
It's going to be called Fashion and Tech.
Okay.
It's like just like a fashion event. Talk about fashion and teach people how to dress.
I can connect you to someone.
Lovely.
Of course I can.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, great. So you can let me know.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing I'm dying to do, because it pains me to see Israelis try hard. I mean, for them, it's like really trying hard. Yeah. Their jacket doesn't fit. Their pants are too short. Their socks are white. I was like, they wore the nice shoes, but they're wearing white socks.
I have to tell you, when I was 21 and I moved by myself to Sydney, after 3 months, I got to work for the 6th biggest corporate at the time, Westfield Shopping Center. And I was working in the marketing division, and this was a corporate job. And I went to the secondhand shop and I bought this, very formal suits and skirts. And for the first 3 weeks of going into the office, I felt like it's Purim. I felt like, I'm dressed up and it's not me. And who is this woman who
right.
I just couldn't recognize myself in the mirror. I felt so inappropriate for who I am.
Right.
But after 3 weeks, I suddenly felt, oh my God, I love this style. I felt, oh my God, this just respects me and respects what I do. So it took me 3 weeks to turn from Israeli to really understand how clothes really supports what you do and how professional you are and how you bring yourself to this business world.
I'll bring you some examples about clothes that's really changed.
Yeah.
One is, by the way, that's totally true. Moving to Israel's been hard. I'm like the only person that wears blazers, that people tell me stop wearing blazers. It's about but you got to step apart.
It's you.
It's not even just me. It's about stepping, looking better, looking different. It's part of the marketing. It's part of, it is more about giving respect to other people. And in return, you get respect back just by the way you dress. That's kind of why I would. My goal is make sure I'm among the top 10 best dressed in Israel, which is so easy. It's so easy.
Too easy.
It's so easy. Which is why I want to do this event.
Yeah.
There's when I moved here, so I had all these, I brought 40 ties with me. I'm down to 8. And I'm I get excited whenever I was a Haredi wedding. Yes, maybe I can wear a tie in a full suit.
How many men in Israel I want to know how to
tie a tie?
Tie a tie.
You know how I learned how to tie a tie? In first grade, my rabbi in class, Rabbi Vogel, would come late. He was also my 4th grade teacher, so I don't know which one it was. Probably. And he would tie it as he comes in and writes the date on the board. And he would say, "Good morning, boys." And he would do his tie. And watching him, that's how I learned. So I knew from an early age. My dad did not know how. I mean, he's blue collar Israeli for, to money. He has no idea how to tie a tie. I don't think I've ever, other than my wedding, my brother's wedding, I don't think I've seen him wear a suit. But the clothing plays such an important factor. It's really sad that I can't wear my ties. It's really sad I can't wear my blazers are too much. It's also so hot.
Yeah, it's so hot. Exactly.
It's so hot. So I have 2 formalities. It's either short shorts or dressing nice. That's my options. If I could, it's short shorts and undershirt and Crocs. That's how I dress when I'm in the office working those days when people don't see me. And then obviously when I go out, I do try to dress up, weather appropriate. Yeah. That does make me look forward more to the winter, so people could dress up. I think really Israelis need to really learn how to dress. It's really a problem.
But we have more problem to solve before.
But that's why we never get to these things, because like strategically, this is Israel. What is our biggest problem in front of us? Okay.
How to dress.
How to dress, whatever it is. But then we have like a problem down the road.
Yeah.
Like, and we see it coming and we're like, no, we'll wait till it's like the katishim, like the last
But
second.
if we're being honest, people, again, in the tech or lawyers and so on, I mean, they understand their industry, especially if they work abroad. And I see many of them, that they do know how to at least adapt to the relevant situation or when they're going to conferences and so on. But still, I mean, I think clothes, we just talked about it earlier, how your clothes also shows who you are and reflects your brand. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, your accent obviously reflects, shows something about your brand. How your blazer, even the color of your blazer.
Right.
Where, I mean, do you use it for work or do you use it just for events? So, I mean, I think the key word here would be awareness. And what I see a lot about Israeli founders is that in terms of their brand as well, is that their lack of awareness of what is my brand? How do I look? How do I want others to see me? And it's not in a yellow gossipy way. It's by understanding that we can design, in the most part, how others see us, and we do it by the way we speak, by the way we dress, by the post, by the outlets that we decide to speak on, by how we interact with people, but how we pitch to one another, by the words we use, but the email, the length of the email even that we write. There are so many nuances that it might feel overwhelming to someone who is not familiar with this, but that's exactly how you adapt yourself to the global market. And if you do want to work in the global market, you need to, I mean, people ask me, how did you start working and speaking in 27 countries? First of all, I started by aiming there. My website was, first of all, in English. My book is only in English at the moment, and the next language will not be Hebrew probably. So just aim and just try to adapt yourself to how the audience would to the codes of your audience as well.
Yeah, the last thing about dress and how important it is about the way you feel, not to represent yourself. I used to be fat, and anyone who struggles with weight knows you get dressed and you look for what makes you look the least fat every day. Yeah. And after I lost weight, it was one of the reasons why I bought blazers, because it's very fitted and look good, was I can now dress to look good. And dressing well, it's not my personality necessarily. I have a finance background, so I'm very used to it. I know how to dress. But like, I'm a very informal dude. But like, dressing well, dressing nice, dressing fitted clothing that goes together, things of the sort help me keep my weight off. After, I've lost and gained like 5 pounds, 6 times, like most people who struggle. Yeah. But I've kept it off for several years now. Maybe like 8 years now, a long time. So let's say before we wrap up and we land things, right? I want you to kind of like explain to, like, let's kind of like sum it up, but like, let's get like tachlis down to it, right? Yeah. Israelis are looking for, let's say, a founder. Yeah. Because today's event was founder-led growth. Let's say they're looking for investment. Yeah. They're looking to connect. They don't have any connections. What do you recommend them to do to connect? One, if they're an Israeli VC, or two, if they're abroad, and how would you approach the two? Okay,
first of all, as I said earlier, look inside and also Google yourself or ChatGPT yourself or ask a few of your friends to Google you or search you and tell you how do they see you? You want to know how others see you, and that's so freaking important, because when you understand how others see you, you understand the gap of how you want to be seen or what messages you want to share as a founder and as an experienced person in whatever field that you are, towards how others see you. So that would be the first thing. Second thing is build your brand, because that's how you create your unfair advantage. And that's how people, again, see you as more professional, and they would maybe choose you over others with similar experience or offering than you. If you want to go, again, meet investors or clients, the best way would be through other people. And again, the reason I want you to build your brand is because when you approach them, the first thing they would do is go back to see who you are. That's why that's number one. Second is you don't have to know people personally to get them to connect you to other people. For example, I always say we are a part of so many circles where there are people who are essentially waiting or willing to help us. One would be different organizations or like the trade associations, or maybe the Olim of Philadelphia on Facebook. I use the Israeli trade missions abroad a lot. So if I want to go now to Silicon Valley, I can just send them an email and tell them, hey, I'm coming. Can you please refer me to XYZ, to different events? Even alumni of your university, whether you started in Philly, maybe you have people in Israel or in Philly. So think about the different circles that you're a part of. Again, even like your kids, the parents of the class of the kids, or the running group, or the gym. There's so many people around us, we just don't see them. So do this people mapping. That's actually the second pillar of my method. Do this people searching to understand where you find people that could essentially help you, and ask them to connect you with them. And third, as I said earlier, just be out there. Go to events, knock on people's door, send an email, call them and say, hey, I have this and that. Like, try to use other people, but also make the move, be proactive. So that would be and I guess maybe to sum it up would be just, again, bring yourself, bring your authenticity as much as you can.
I love it. Lirone Glikman, thank you for being on Israel Tech. We'll drop the link to your book and everything else about you down in the description and comment. If you made it this far, make sure to give us 5 stars and share. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Thank you, Lirone.